Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe.
Hi guys, again with House of the Unusual podcast. Each and every week we come to you with the strange and the unusual. This week, boy, do we have a good one. I want to say that pretty soon I'm going to be launching the Discovery. Basically, before anything gets done, there's a book coming out probably next week. It's about the famous Bet's ball, the alien ball that was featured in Ancient Aliens a few months ago. In search of back in the 70s, I believe it was. But anyway, the Bet's ball, as you guys know, was a mysterious sphere that the Betts family found back in 1974 in the charred remains of a barn in back of their home. So what happened with the Betts ball is that apparently, the son took it home. He collected shiny objects. So he had it on his windowsill, and the story goes that a few weeks later he was playing guitar, and supposedly the ball was humming to the sounds of the guitar. And then apparently I think I hear the father also hit the ball and with a hammer, and it sounded like a bell and so forth. And the story goes that they would put it on top of a table, and it would roll to the corners and roll back to the center. It wouldn't fall off the table. And if they put it on the floor, it would try actually to go out the door. Now, all those mysterious happenings, I think the only recorded event of that is you could see the ball following Mrs. Betts, which I believe they were saying some of the scientists came to the conclusion that the house was old, the floors were uneven, and that's the reason of the movement of the ball. Fast forward to 2022, the Betts ball apparently disappeared. 40 some years ago, you never saw it again. The Betts family mysteriously left. They sold the house where they were in, and everything disappeared with it. So the conclusion is very simple. I went to Florida about 6-7 months ago, and a magician friend of mine that is in St. Augustine, he's been there for over 20 years and does shows like every half hour they do a show. There's a couple of guys there, not just the one, but the one guy that I know said to me, "Hey Eddie, I got something that might interest you." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, there's a guy named Victor who frequents the show every couple of years and goes there, and I think apparently Victor lives in Jacksonville, in the Orlando area. And he has a farm, so he apparently found a ball in one of the sheds or something that he had in the farm or something. And apparently the ball, he's seen it, and he remembered the Betts story because the guy's a little older in age. And, this guy doesn't believe in anything. So apparently he took the ball and he gave it to the magician, and he said, hey, maybe you can use this on your show. It could be, whatever. So the magician saw it. It weighed 22 pounds, and he found it intriguing. He left it there for almost a year, a couple of months. And lo and behold, I go down there with my brother about 6-7 months ago, and then he goes to me, "Hey, Eddie, So he shows me the ball. I go, "Wow, man, this is going to be heavy to take back on the plane, but whatever, It was like a bowling ball, so I actually took it in a bag, and I bought it on the plane. And it was kind of funny because it wouldn't quite fit underneath the seat. So when I would put it between my legs, it would roll side to side. So I'm like, wow, man, this is an interesting thing. So anyway, fast forward, I took the ball. There's a Russian, he's not particularly he's Russian, but it was kind of funny that he is Russian. A friend that I know, and actually he lives in my area, And I noticed that he has a company, and he actually, you give him things, electronic things. He's an electrical engineer, and he holds a PhD. So I asked him if he would be able to do some tests, test the ball officially. So he ran a couple of tests, and he's about to give me back the amount of tests he did. I think it's going to be that today or tomorrow he's going to meet up with me. And, I'm going to get from him the ball back. and I'm anxious to actually film it. Tried some of the tests myself. Apparently, what the conclusion is or not of the ball, he's going to write it down in a report, and it's going to be published. So I'm not going to make any light of it right now, because the book is going to be published, and he's the one that's actually publishing the book through me. I helped him put together the book and all that stuff. Well, I did most of the stuff, but he's giving me the report. It's going to be put there, and it's going to go up for sale on Amazon. Probably, like I said, if the most, I think, is another day or two. The book will be finished, uploaded 72 hours before it becomes live, and anybody out there will be able to actually, purchase the book. Now, what I'm excited about is when I get the ball, I want to run my own test on it. Now, when I did have it, due to the fact that I was kind of busy, it was in the last month and stuff, and my son was going through a wedding and all this stuff. It was kind of tough, and I really didn't have time to say, hey, I'm going to experiment with the ball. I'm going to do this with it and see what it does. Now, as you guys know, the legend goes of the ball that Mrs. Betts apparently towards the end, when they received the ball back from Dr. Haynick, they say, it stopped performing. So apparently, but here's the thing that I always wondered, why if they said it was performing and doing those miracles, whatever, and of course you had some ghost people later on that said that the piano was playing in the house. I mean, that stuff I don't think really, I think that's already adding to the mystery. But anyway, the thing is basically whether what the ball did do tricks or followed people or not. I heard that it stopped doing all that stuff. And apparently, again, my question is why? I know in 1974 and stuff, I mean, who's got a camera? If you film anything, you had to carry around a Super 8 millimeter camera, and it was usually silent. So, you didn't have anybody. Very few people had a camera that would record with sound. Let's put it that way. So, but I'm surprised that no one took any movies of it. I mean, the National Enquirer got involved. The conclusion came from everybody. The Navy took the ball, and the total conclusion from every side of the fence is that there was nothing. That it was just the origination of it was from the Earth. It originated from here. It was just a steel ball. But of course, the fact is the conspiracy theorists would always take it and say, well, it's an ancient alien ball, is this and that. I believe it's just a steel ball, but I find it interesting because I do remember in the 1970s, I'll never forget this, there was a comic book I purchased, an oversized comic book. I think it was something like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I forgot what it was. But what it did is it would teach you to take I would say an oatmeal box or a salt, not a box. The oatmeal has a box, but I'm talking about like the Quaker Oats that comes in that round container. It's like a can, but of course made of cardboard. And it would tell you to take off the top, and then it would say to make a hole in the bottom, like if you were making a pinhole camera, and you would stick a rubber band through it, and you would put a washer or actually something that was heavy, like a weight, like one of those fishing weights, in the center, and put another rubber band and then attach it to the top. And what you're doing is you're putting a rubber band in the center. So what you would do is you would roll it, and as you rolled it, of course the weight would cause the rubber band to wind up, and then the can would actually roll back to you. So it made me think of that, because when you said that the ball, you toss it, and not you toss it, but you roll it off and it rolls back to you, and I was wondering if it would be something like that, since they did show I believe there were some x-rays that showed two miniature things inside, or two miniature spheres inside the ball. Now this ball, for some reason though, if you look at it really closely, I mean, it's not really noticeable, but it looks like it was welded. Like, I think, in my opinion, I mean, I'm not saying this is the ball. It originates from the same area. I'm dying to see what the doctor has come up with his conclusion on it. There's not enough photographic evidence to compare it with that I know of. So we're back to what we thought from the very beginning. Is it the ball? Now, it's probably the closest thing to it that's ever emerged in 40 years. And it's kind of funny that it fell in my hands because I love this stuff, and as you guys know, the House of the Unusual has been not only publishing books lately, but we've been doing a lot of things in the field of mail order. Now, originally I started originally I had the Fun Factory back in the 1980s, and prior to the Fun Factory I had P&E House of the Unusual, which was a store, magic shop in Burger Line Avenue in West New York, New Jersey. I closed the shop and purchased with the original owner, Lou Weiss, the Fun Factory. And the Fun Factory was originally started in 1968-69 and sold mail order novelties and comic books through the 1970s. I was so excited that I was able, with Lou Weiss, to run a full-page ad because I joined forces with him, I would say 1989. In 1991 or 92, we ran a full-page ad in DC Comics because it took a couple of months for us to actually, reset the business and go back into it. Lou Weiss had a big giant company at the time. Oh, he still does. And, he had very little time for this, but he wanted to take the endeavor and, get together with me and do it. So we started Fun Factory again. And later, we found out that through some legal means, because what happened was the original Fun Factory had gone bankrupt, and the court sold off the proceeds, everything that it was owned by it, to a man by the name of Jack Aboff, which was the owner of the Fun House. Now, the Fun House was the original company from comic books that you would see. They were famous for the money. Like, you can get $1 million in U.S. banknotes for 50 cents if you sent away for their catalog, and you always saw a money bag in the ad. It was like a 1-inch ad, very popular. If you pick up any comic, you'll see it. And it was for the Fun House, and they were located in P.O. Box 1224, Newark, New Jersey. Well, anyway, Jack Aboff passed away many, many years ago. But while he was alive, he contacted me and Lou one time and said, "Hey guys, you guys are using the Fun Factory. Technically, I kind of own that name." Now, he didn't really have any ownership of the name because he just bought whatever was left of it. But you know what? We agreed that the best thing was, I told Lou, why don't we just rename the company House of the Unusual? At that time, I was planning to move to Florida and stuff, so I actually went on my own because it was hard to travel up to where Lou was and all that stuff. And I continued the House of the Unusual. I stayed with all the Fun Factory stuff and original catalogs, books. In fact, one of the funny things is Luke gave me his original phone book from the 1970s of the Fun Factory. And I've been looking for the Melton Company for years, looking for the 7-feet robot plants that never seem to emerge anywhere. And to my surprise, actually, and this is funny to say this, Lou Weiss had the phone number of the Melton guy in there, but I just never noticed, so I never called it, And I could have called it back in 1989. I'm sure he was probably still alive. Who knows? I mean, maybe he's 100 years old. I don't know. But the point is, I've never been able to track the guy down, even though I traveled to Chicago to do that. I've traveled to Florida to do that. It's been a waste of time, and I always hit a brick wall when it comes to the 7-foot monster robot plants. Someday, maybe God, Jesus, if he wants me to have it, he'll give it to me. If not, what am I going to do? It's going to be one of those things in my lifetime I might not ever see. Everything else I have the Polaris sub. I had all those famous things. So now the conclusion is that the the House of the Unusual was, and the reason I've told the story about it, because it started as a mail order novelty house, selling the original magic tricks and novelties that were sent back in the 1970s. Now, over about 2.5, 3 years ago, I met Chuck, and when Chuck came on board, he helped me out a lot by bringing magic to the show. Now, everybody knows that if you dealt with the novelty stuff in the 1970s, every mail order house sold either magic cards or a magic set. Magic was always involved, and it was intertwined with the novelty joke business. So I always thought that magic was part of it, and always fell in love with magic. I know I have a friend of mine that hates magic. I'm not going to mention the name, but we call him the king of certain items. I'm not going to say people out there will probably know who I'm talking about. But anyway, the thing is that Chuck has been helping me a lot, and I've let Chuck take over most of the channel with his magic, because one of the important things I could say is that it's been because of Chuck that I've been able to put the books together. I haven't been doing any videos for a couple of weeks, months now, but that's because I've been so busy in the back end getting the website working and a lot of that stuff. So guys, look forward for the Bets Ball. Look forward for as House of the Unusual emerges into a whole new thing. Not only are we going to be dealing with novelty items, but we're going to be dealing with a lot of fun things for today's generation. People will be bringing back history, but at the same time, we'll be introducing new products. So, thank you very much, and Chuck, take it away, buddy.
Okay, welcome once again. We appreciate you folks tuning in. Cheri, we have another interesting podcast.
All right.
Urban Legends of Cemeteries.
Ooh.
Now, most of you people, if you follow us, you know that Cheri and I love to walk in cemeteries.
Yes, that's our favorite thing to do.
Yeah, we have a local one here in North Versailles, Pennsylvania. Is that Grandview Cemetery?
Yeah, and St. Joseph's, they're split.
Yeah,
one's Catholic and one's Protestant.
Protestant, yeah, so they don't get into too many arguments with each other. They're kind of separated.
Yes.
But yeah, we love to walk in there. It's fantastic, and we've been doing it for maybe 14 years.
A long time.
And we haven't recently because we're getting over a cold. There's something going around. It's just hard to shake.
Congestion and all that.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
but it's a cold cemetery, and when the leaves were changing in the fall, it looked absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we did. We love that.
But getting to the urban legends of cemeteries.
We were going to talk a little bit about Key West.
Yes, we did. We visited Key West Cemetery, I guess, a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And down there in Florida, Key West, Florida. And we had an Uber driver drop us off. So that was pretty funny.
He said that was the first for him.
It was first for him. But you know what? Because of the high water table down there, all of the graves are above ground.
It was so cool.
Really, really cool.
I liked the way that looked.
And we got to visit Robert Eugene Otto. He's the owner of Robert the Doll. And that was really cool. You set your GPS to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
and
we found it.
And it took us actually right to it. Unbelievable. But anyway, Robert Eugene Otto came from a very prominent family down in Key West, and he had the doll, Robert the Doll. And if you follow the story, if you know anything about it, people swear the doll was haunted because when he was gone from the home at school as a child and the parents were gone, people would swear the doll would look out the window. Family members would hear it run across the floor and so forth. And that was on my bucket list. And Cheri and I, we did have a chance to visit the actual doll. It's in East Fort Metello Museum, I believe.
Right near their little airport.
Yeah, very.
And I do mean little.
Very.
One terminal.
One terminal. The runway is very, very small, but it's a cool place. I love Key West.
Key West was awesome.
Absolutely, I would go back down there in a heartbeat.
Heartbeat.
Beautiful. But anyway, let's get on with the urban legends of different cemeteries that we came up with. If you ever find yourself in Carpenter Cemetery, located in Cloverland, Indiana, after midnight, you might get a premonition of your own death.
Oh my.
The graveyard goes back to the Civil War era and is regarded as one of the most haunted cemeteries in the country. A long stone staircase made of ornate stone. If you're brave enough to climb it, you'll see the former caretaker appear at the bottom of the hill. He will share with you the time and manner of your death.
Oh no.
You will have to go 100 steps to climb up. And after the visitation, when you descend, if you count the same number down, the visitation is wrong. If you count an additional step, it means that your fate has been sealed. So
oh my word.
So there's obviously more than 100 steps, but that's the key. So you want to try and hit it with 100.
I don't know if I'd make it up even 50 steps.
Well, I don't know. With these colds we have,
having a hard time breathing.
I'm not sure.
I know. Wow.
But
I know. I heard about this, like Civil War cemeteries.
Yeah.
a lot of hauntings.
Yes, even ours in Pittsburgh, the Allegheny
Yeah.
Cemetery in Lawrenceville, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
They have a whole section dedicated to the Civil War, and the tombstones are really old.
Yes.
They're white, is it limestone, I guess, or
Maybe so.
because most of the names and dates are eroded. It is a really, really cool cemetery.
Yeah.
And but what do you have, Sherry?
Okay. Now, a haunted cemetery in Alabama. It's called Maple Hill Cemetery. It houses a hidden playground. Ooh, referred to, oh boy, Dead Children's Playground. The structure was originally built to distract children while their parents pay respects to their loved ones. So they would head over to the playground after dark, and if you might see some children come out and play. Visitors have reported seeing swings move on their own, orbs of light climbing up ladders, and eerie laughter in the distance. Local lore suggests the children's spirits belong to who died during the influenza epidemic.
Wow.
Speaking of influenza,
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have anything wrong with us.
that's creepy. I don't like to read anything
No,
about children.
I don't care for that either. But
No.
that is pretty cool. I've
I
heard of
know.
things like that.
Mhm.
All right, let's see. If you find yourself traveling down the desolate roads of Ashmore, Illinois,
Huh.
you may stumble on a graveyard rumored to have been the home of a witch.
Oh no.
Part of the abandoned town of St. Omer, the cemetery would likely be forgotten if not for an unusual headstone depicting a large sphere set atop a pyre. The stone belongs to the Barnes family. And what's interesting is the other graves face east to west. Theirs faces north to south.
Huh.
So that's a clue right there that the people in charge of the cemetery did not want these people facing the same direction.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the death date of Caroline does not exist, so there's not a death date on there.
Ooh.
Legend has it that Caroline was a witch. In the 1800s, when she wouldn't die by hanging, she was buried alive.
Oh my.
So if there's any truth to that, that is absolutely horrendous.
That is crazy. There's a lot of folklore and legends.
Yes,
in
oh.
all places.
Yes.
A well-known statue in Raleigh, North Carolina, has been freaking out locals and tourists for years. Set atop Etta Rebecca White's grave in Oakland Cemetery, there's an angel statue carved in her likeness. Legend has it, the angel's eyes, they follow you as you walk, and the statue's head spins in place. No one knows where this legend comes from, but even the cemetery staff regard the angel eyes as unsettling.
Yeah, wow.
That would be kind of creepy.
Spinning
You
head.
know when you see a picture sometimes,
Yeah,
it
oh,
looks
yeah.
like the eyes are following you.
Absolutely.
That's creepy.
Absolutely. Or even
in museums.
or even a cutout poster of a life-size poster like in the store or something. I mean, you would
Mhm.
swear the eyes are following you.
Yes.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
Yes, it's an illusion. Never stop to pick up a hitchhiker along Archer Avenue in Chicago.
How about never ever anywhere?
Yeah, never pick up a hitchhiker anywhere.
Lesson learned.
Not nowadays. It may turn out to be the ghost of Resurrection Mary,
Ooh.
killed by a hit-and-run driver while coming home from a ball in the 1920s. Mary has been known to wander the streets, flagging down drivers to take her home. Some versions put Mary in popular nightclubs, so if you dance with Mary, you might notice her outdated clothes and ice-cold hands.
Ooh.
I don't know where she puts these hands, but
I don't know.
wherever you meet her,
Around your neck.
yeah, wherever you meet her, she is wearing a white gown, and if you feel compelled to give her a ride, she usually wants to be taken to Resurrection Cemetery.
Oh.
Now, I've heard many things of this nature. You
Yeah,
know.
especially about Walking Rosie or
Yes.
Walking Mary or all them walking in
Yeah.
a white gown down a road.
Right. So there is a
Right.
lot of different versions.
Yes. Yeah. This one's located in a Missouri cemetery. There's a stone monument. It's rumored to send people straight to HELL hockey sticks.
Hockey stick. All right.
HELL. Okay. A stone chair was placed in the cemetery in 1911 by Charles Grassel and David Baird, in memory of David's wife. Now, seating provides families the opportunity to sit in the memory of loved ones. This seat, its tranquil nature soon turned far more sinister. Now known as the Devil's Chair, the chair is set directly on top of the family's headstone, and then one legend states, if you are sitting in the chair, when the clock strikes midnight, an undead hand will grab you and drag you right down to H-E-L-L.
Double hockey stick.
Yeah.
That would be weird though. Seeing a stone
Undead
chair.
Head.
No, well,
Hand.
well,
Undead
well, just the chair itself. I mean, a granite chair sitting on the tombstone.
head.
That would be kind of weird.
Yeah, that is kind of strange.
And I probably would not
I
sit in
wonder
that
what
thing.
happened, how it turned tranquil to like devious. And
Well, I think a
devilish.
lot of imagination.
Okay.
Okay, there is a statue in Lafayette Square, Washington, D.C. that will scare the yell out of you.
Ooh.
The statue is known as Black Aggie. The bronze statue depicts a mournful woman shrouded in a veil of grief. Legend has it, when midnight comes, the eyes turn red. Anyone unfortunate enough to engage her gaze will go blind. Anyone who sits in Aggie's lap will die within 2 weeks. Now I checked this. Are you getting a kick out
How
of it?
do you sit in her lap?
Well, it's you know what? If you check this out online, it's a big statue, and it turned black for some reason. I don't know. Throughout the years of attrition, maybe with the weather hitting it and so forth.
So it's an actual statue where you can sit on it.
Yeah, it's a big
see.
creepy looking statue. Definitely.
Ew.
So Aggie, check it out, Washington D.C.
No, I don't know about that.
All right, we got one more here.
Those bold enough to dare on an encounter will need to travel to Canyon Hill Cemetery in Idaho. Dating back to the 1800s, the cemetery houses suicide and murder victims, along with a mother who drove off a cliff with her 5 children. Supposedly, a ghostly midnight jogger is seen as you park your car. The temperature drops and an awful odor is rampant, and then closer inspection reveals the woman isn't jogging, but floating, and you might even hear a tap, tap, tap on your car window.
Wow, that sounds pretty creepy.
That's scary.
You know, if that was me in my car, the terrible odor would be cigar smoke. I'd be smoking on a cigar.
Oh no, you don't smoke, remember?
But anyway, we have a few local ones here.
Yes.
I grew up in North Braddock, Pennsylvania, which is just across from Swissvale, PA, and there's the Monongahela Cemetery. The one near our house off of 4th Street, and there was supposed to be a walking Rosie there.
Yeah.
So when you turn your headlights on this statue, it's supposed to walk, and again, I think there's a lot of imagination involved with this.
Exactly.
And in Braddock, Pennsylvania, where there's still one steel mill left, it's called the Edgar Thompson Steel Mill.
Yeah, we were down there.
We were just down there driving the other day. There's a little tunnel called the Duker's Hollow Tunnel. And supposedly a steel worker that had his head decapitated at the mill supposedly walks underneath this bridge, this tunnel. Now, when I was a kid, when my dad would drive through there at night, I'd be terrified.
Aww.
Yeah, I would jump in the back seat and I'd cover my eyes, and I would hide under blankets and so forth. Did you have anything? Local?
I mean, there was that one about I think her name was Mary.
Okay.
Yeah, Walking Mary. She would walk down that highway in a white gown. They would see her.
Oh, that's
Braddock Hills.
Yeah, the Braddock Hills.
By the cemetery.
Yeah.
It's always by a cemetery.
Yeah, you know what?
Have a lot of imaginations there.
There's a guy I know. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for over 50 years, and he doesn't believe anything. I mean, he's very pragmatic with everything.
Very skeptical.
Yeah, skeptical. And he was coming from work. This is before we were married, over 35 years ago.
Wow.
And he said he saw the outline of a girl with mist walking outside the gates of the cemetery.
See, and that's where
I
they
mean
said
that.
they saw.
I mean that really blew my mind because
Yeah.
if you know this guy, I mean
He doesn't believe anything.
no. Yeah. But anyway,
I guess that's our time.
that's some cool stuff
Yeah.
for you folks to ponder on. Thanks for joining us, and join us again next week.
Bye-bye. God bless.
Okay, bye-bye.